Okay, so we are going to work on our hole callouts, which is this guy right here. This is a really complicated hole callout. It gives you a lot of hole callouts. So I'm going to first walk you through drawing the block for this, which is super simple, and then we're going to go through how to do a callout table like this. So in doing that, we're going to start a new 2D sketch in an IPT. Starting from the base point, we're going to make a box that is 12 inches by 3 inches. So 12 by 3. And then we're going to make another box that is 1.5, or I should say 3 by 1.5. Okay. And actually that box should be on this side. So we're going to extrude these two. So I'm going to hit finish sketch. And I'm going to extrude these two, and the extrusion distance is going to be 2 inches. They got that block. We're also going to throw a fillet on the end of it. Actually, it's going to be a round, so we're going to do a round of 1 inch right on the top. Okay. That's pretty simple. After this, we're going to start putting in all of our holes. Now, we obviously want all of our holes to be on here. We want them to be equally spaced. That's good, so we have 11 holes. And the first hole is just going to be 1 inch in and 1 inch over. And then we're going to continue that pattern. So we're going to put our first hole, the point tool, we'll dimension it, 1 inch in, 1 inch out. Hit finish sketch, and I will go to hole. And then this hole is going to be a through hole. So it's going to be through all. And the diameter is going to be 0.625. And that is going to be it for this hole. So we have a through hole. So that is hole number 1. We're going to continue the pattern here. I believe I can go straight to the hole tool. I wanted to spend a little more time dimensioning, so I won't go to the hole tool. So we're going to do our next one. Point tool, drop it on there, and we're just going to keep moving them all over 1 inch. So that was, we're going to keep moving over. So like the next one will be 3, etc. Okay, so that's our next hole. And our next hole is going to be a regular hole, but it's going to be to a distance of 0.75 with a diameter of 0.5. Nothing else fancy. It's going to be 118. So that is our second hole. Our third hole. It's going to be with the point tool, and dimension our third hole to be 3 by 1. And this hole is going to be, let's see, it's going to be 1.5 down, and 1.5 maybe 1.5 down, and it is going to be threaded. Oh, it changed right there. So it is going to be distance. There you go, and we're going to go down to size of 0.875, uniform course, class 1B, right hand thread. We're going to uncheck full depth, and it's going to be 1.5 by 1.5. So here we go. So we have a threaded. This is the size. ANSI unified screw threads, class 1B, 7/8 unified course thread, and we're going to hit OK. Fourth hole. So fourth hole is going to be 4 inches away. It's going to be 1 inch up. And this hole is going to be a counter bore. So we're going to do a counter bore, and the counter bore looks like this. We're going to do counter bore with 0.5 here, and we're going to do no threads, so we got to turn the threads off. We're going to go down 0.75 with a diameter of 0.25, and we're going to do a flat drill point. Make sure all that information is correct. Click OK. Okay, so that's the fourth hole. Now we're going to go over to the fifth hole once again. Just walking through this. Five and 1. Oh, I didn't hit 1. I hit 14. So fifth hole. We go to hole. This time we're going to do a countersink. Once again, we're going to stay with a flat bottom drill point. At the top, it's going to be 0.875. We're going to do 60 degrees. We're going to go down 1.25 and 0.5. And that is everything for this countersink. Next hole. Hole number 6. We're going to go over 6 and 1. Good. Okay, so hole number 6 is another tapped hole. So we're going to go for a tapped hole here. We're going to go a distance of through all. Staying on ANSI, 0.5. Once again, we're going to go 1B. 1/2 inch 13 is what we're going to stick with. Full depth. So see how it changes it to full depth. And we're going to click OK. That one wasn't too bad. Seventh hole. Point. Dimension. Dimension, please. So 7 and 1. And the 7th hole, what do we got in store for us? So 7th hole is a distance hole. Good. It is not threaded. We do have a drill point on the bottom. It's going to be 1.5 down, and we're going to just drill the hole. So here we go. And we'll move on to our 8th hole. So for our 8th hole, let's see. Make an 8th point. We're going to dimension it 8 inches by 1 inch. Hit finish sketch. We're going to go and look at what kind of hole we need for the 8th hole. There's another counter, excuse me, counter bore. It's got everything in here exactly like it is. So everything exactly like I have it is perfect. And that's it. Okay, so we got another counter bore. We're going to do our next hole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to do 9 now. I'm going to dimension it to be 9 by 1. I'm going to hit finish sketch. I'm going to go to hole. Let's see what the 9th hole looks like. So the 9th hole looks like it's going to be a through hole. So we're going to do another through hole. Nothing fancy. It's going to be 2.5 by 0.625. And I think that's it. So I'm going to click OK. And you see this one's important because it's got this like half section coming out. So that's 9th. Got 2 left. You're going to do number 10. Hit finish sketch. Should have dimensioned that, so I apologize. We're going to go back. We're going to dimension it. Ooh. 10 and 1. I hit finish sketch. I'm going to go to hole. And the 10th hole is a countersink. It is threaded. It is 0.375, class 2B, 3/816, right hand, full depth. So distance through all, and 60 by 0.8. And that is this one. And now our final hole. The final one right here, which is 11 inches from the end. 11. And centered in the middle. Alright, the last hole is just to have one. There's this funky kind of hole right here called a spot face. And these are the least common holes. So we got a spot face. It's just going to go in. We're going to go through all. It's going to be very tiny. 0.25. This is a good way to get like a flush bolt. Might do a spot face or just to do a little bit inside. 0.0625. 0.75. Okay, all of this stuff is good. And you can save this now. Give you a moment. What do we save it as? You can save it as whole block. So I've already got it saved, but I'll save it again. So save as. And I want all blocks. Let's go new. 7. And I'm going to save it as whole block. Okay. So now we've got to basically get this thing dimensioned. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to bring in my title. Scale is going to probably be 1/2 or 1:2. So you can get the rest in there. I just wanted to give you the scale. And I'm going to bring it in there. It's bringing in 1/4. I think 1/2 would work. And I want to, since I want to make the section, I want to bring this in as my view. So this is the view I'm going to bring in. And I'm going to do a section of this right down the middle. So I'm going to do a section right down the middle. I'm going to hit continue, and I'm going to bring it down. So here is my section view. And I'm going to slide this whole thing to the side just a wee bit. Okay. Now Now I could also put my dimensions in here if I was so inclined, but we're gonna just focus on making a whole chart off of this one. And once you click that, we're gonna click here for reference. You see that's starting where our whole chart starts. It's off of this view, so I leave that there. And you click in order every hole you want. Right hit and click create, and it's going to create a whole chart and label them all as such. Let's see if I can get this over. I'm going to shrink this in a little. Okay. Maybe I can get this one. Okay, so now, as you can see, I have a whole chart generated that's got the call out for all my holes, like through hole to a distance, the thread type to the distance, and it shows you how they all should go. So it's always the hole and then what goes with the hole. So the hole comes before the counter sink. The hole comes before the counter bore, right? Or this counter bore, this counter sink. Threads come before anything else because they're telling you the size. Then distance. So size, distance, and so on and so forth. Right here, it gives you the dimensions from here. So this datum right here tells you this hole is 1 and 1 from there. This hole is 2 and 1 from there. So it gives you the X and the Y. So it gives you everything you need for this call out. Half inch, 13 threads. This one, I believe we have, no, everything's good. So this is what you would need to submit.